What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Golden Dice Podcast, episode number 36. With me of the Golden Dice Podcast square, since we're not a triangle, I guess we technically include Shane. I have the mastermind, the genius, the mad scientist behind what we do here at Golden Dice. With me, I got Tommy. Tommy, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I don't know how I'm ever going to live up to these intros. I don't. They get worse every week. I don't get it.
We talked about this in our group chat. I mean, like, you'll just never admit that you do well with deck crafting, but it's just, you do.
Well, thank you.
Hey, man, as you said, if you throw enough stuff against the wall, something's gonna
stick.
But also with us is a non-Golden Dice member, a non-content creator, unless he secretly does content, and I didn't know about it until this very second. But we have Ann, and Ann is the winner from the Tulsa Regional, piloting Tarkin Snoke. So, Ann, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the offer to jump in and talk a little Star Wars Destiny. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, of course. As soon as we saw that you did what I couldn't do, we were ready to have you on. I mean, granted, that's a lot of people that can do that, but you did it with Tarkin Snoke, so we were excited to get you on here.
Yeah, and apparently a bunch of other people did it last weekend as well. So
yeah, I know. Cruising from Sons of Mandalore took a dub down in. I think, was he at Louisville? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was
Kentucky
Louisville.
had, I think, 3 of the top 4 were Tarkin Snoke.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like to see Tarkin busting out into the meta, but I mean, you're the OG winner, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we'll start out. We'll ask a little bit about Ann and kind of your Star Wars background, your Star Wars Destiny background, and then we'll kind of jump into Tulsa. And we were lucky enough to get a new article from FFG that was not Destiny specific, but some pretty exciting stuff with their OP format. So, Ann, background question: have you played any other type CCG, or have you been competitive in any other sport or video game or anything like that?
Yeah, so growing up, I played a lot of sports, so competition was always something that I enjoyed. And as I learned that I was no longer good at sports, I had to turn it to something else. So gaming was right there. First started gaming with my older brother who got me into playing Magic. So we would pretty much only play drafts. So if a new set would come out, we would go to the game store and play in the draft, and then I would sell all my cards back and draft again. So that's really what started gaming. But as for Star Wars gaming, it was X-Wing. So that was my first gaming love, and I played that pretty seriously for several years.
X-Wing was actually my first FFG game. I bought the starter, played a few games, and then found out about Destiny. And I haven't really touched X-Wing much since then. The learning curve is pretty steep, so I haven't, in terms of piloting, it seems. So I haven't gotten around to really ironing that out. But
yeah, I have some 2.0 stuff. I think I've only played maybe 2 or 3 games with it. Destiny is for sure taken over my competitive gaming life.
Yeah, I bought a conversion kit and played like release night, and I don't think I've played since then.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
And that kind of tells you, because I barely played before, but the fact that I had enough ships to buy a conversion kit kind of shows how well that money is spent. It is a fun game, though.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Now, did you ever win any regional type events like you did for Destiny with X-Wing?
So I won 2 different store championships with X-Wing. I came runner-up in one of the Team Covenant X-Wing regionals, and that was the best that I did. And then I went to Worlds a couple times to play Destiny, or to play X-Wing, and never really did much there, but it was always a blast playing.
Cool. Were you at Worlds this past year?
I was. So besides winning this regional, then the next funnest time I'd had playing Destiny was day 1 of Worlds. I went 6-1 and playing Obi Maz. And going into the last round was against Mike Jem, who was also 6-0 at the time and was playing the Sabine deck and just steamrolled me so bad that, just Sabine doing what Sabine does. But yeah, I had a great time there. And my first opponent at day 2 of Worlds last year was Joe, Honestly Sarcastic. So I got to play back-to-back Hyperloopers. And Joe and I had a really good game, but he ended up taking it, and I'd made a very big play mistake in that match, and it just put me on tilt, and I ended up losing my next two. So on day 2, I went 0-3 and missed making anything
that
further.
is rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Joe in top 16, and he gave me a good spanking both games.
Yeah.
His deck went into Sabine pretty well.
Yeah.
That's cool. I guess that, bummer we didn't cross paths at all, as I was at Worlds also. But yeah, that's awesome to go 5-1, make day 2.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Now, what like originally got you into Destiny, like specifically Destiny?
So honestly, the very first time I think I saw an article or whatever on Fantasy Flight's website, the first time it was previewed, I was like, I need to play this game. It was Star Wars, which is my biggest fandom, and on top of that, it's a competitive card game. To me, it was everything that a game needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it was for me. It was actually Shane got me into the game, as much as we bust on him for not being on the podcast ever or doing anything for the podcast ever.
Only thing you ever did right.
Yeah, it was getting me into the game. I remember the first deck I played, it was Han, hired gun. And I like paying for things, apparently. I like pay sides.
Yeah, when the game first came, I was definitely I opened up a Vader in my first box, and I was like, I need more of this. And so I played a lot of Vader. I paired them with every pairing I could possibly think of in that first set. I didn't want to be like everybody else and play him with Tusken Raider, so I would try the Stormtrooper just religiously to make that work. But
the fast hands on Tusken Raider, you probably missed a little
absolutely.
bit.
Absolutely. That was so good.
Yeah. It was when I actually started playing, I hated blue villain. So I actually, like, if I got a Vader, I traded it or sold it immediately. Same thing for like Palpatine all the way through Empire at War. Although I did keep Seven Sister, I think was about the only thing I really kept. I'm out of that habit now because my competitive side is much more greater than my disdain for blue sticks, but I still barely play blue sticks anyways.
Oh man, I'm a villain at heart, so I prefer to play the villains any chance I get.
Yeah, I mean, I took Tarkin Snoke, so I sold my soul. It's whatever at this point. Now, in terms of Star Wars, are you a big Star Wars fan, or do you just play for the game mechanics?
Oh no, absolutely a big Star Wars fan. Ever since my brother pulled out one of the VHS tapes of The New Hope, I was hooked. So I've been a Star Wars fan for as long as I can remember.
Tommy, you weren't on last week. When did you first get into Star Wars?
I was pretty young. I probably 6 or 7, and I don't even know if it was age appropriate when I watched A New Hope for the first time. But it was my grandmother's cousin had an insane VHS collection back when that was a thing to do, and she had brought, she would bring a stack of tapes to my grandmother's house for like a weekend dinner once in a while. And she would always bring a stack of movies for me to pick one to watch. And I picked A New Hope. And of course, that was the only one she brought. So then I had to wait in burning anticipation until I was able to see Empire Strikes Back and then Return of the Jedi on the next visit. But yeah, I'll never forget finding out, spoiler alert, that Vader is Luke's father for the first time as a kid. That is earth-shattering.
I didn't know that.
I love watching those videos on YouTube of parents filming their kids seeing that for the first time. I can't get enough of that.
I'm so going to be that dad.
I definitely enjoy those videos more than like the Jimmy Kimmel reactions of the kids.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ann, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
I think Empire Strikes Back. It's got to be at the top of the list, with Rogue One following very, very closely behind that. I thought Rogue One was just a fantastic movie from beginning to end, but nothing quite like Empire.
Yeah, I'm probably same boat with 4's close to that as well.
Yeah, Empire. You got to go Empire if you have eyes and ears and you saw the movie. Then you go Empire.
Now, I listened to last week's podcast, and there was a lot of hate for The Last Jedi, and I am definitely opposite that. I really, really like The Last Jedi.
All right.
I think it gets a lot of unfair hate.
Thanks for tuning into Golden Ice Podcast, episode 36. We'll catch you guys next week. That concludes episode today. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not like a level of hate where it's like I mean, quite frankly, I don't understand any hate where it's like I'll never watch that movie type thing. Quite frankly, I'll watch the prequels and binge them all the time,
Sure.
despite them not being, in terms of movie production type stuff, not being good movies. But I still love them dearly. And so I'd probably say The Last Jedi is the same as that. But I think I think Drew has a much deeper hate than I do for The Last Jedi. What would you say your least favorite movie is, though?
Probably Attack of the Clones. I'll rewatch it if it's on. I'll watch it, but it's definitely the bottom of my list.
That's fair. I think that movie like is more to me because I feel like when I watched that for the first time as a kid, it was like that end scene of the clones coming in was just like so awesome that I just like fell in love with the movie.
Yeah, there
And
were absolutely
episode
some
one
good
was
parts in that
just
movie.
yeah. Episode one was just that's always been a drag. And just like the quotes, like prequel memes is a thing for a reason.
Oh yeah, they're deserving.
Yeah, exactly.
The dialogue was just not very well, whether it was a lack of writing or a lack of acting. It just the dialogue is what kind of brought those movies down, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it was more writing. I don't really know how anybody would have delivered some of those lines. Like just
So,
set up for failure.
so I don't know if you guys ever listened to the podcast Star Wars Minute. Highly recommend it. But listening to that podcast go through the Phantom Menace and then picking apart minute by minute and just pulling out some of that very terrible dialogue uh, really gives you an appreciation for how poorly edited that movie was.
I can imagine. I'll have to check it out. What was the name of it?
Star Wars Minute. So they take all of the Star Wars movies and literally break them down minute by minute and just talk about it for 30 minutes.
Wow.
It's hilarious. It's a hilarious podcast.
I feel like there's got to be some just gold episodes where you're just like the dumbest minute of the movie.
Well, and when you look at the Phantom Menace, there's 20 episodes of pod racing. So it's
Wow. Yeah. So how long is Phantom Menace? I can't imagine how many episodes like are
oh man,
for like one one movie.
it's definitely like
2 hours and 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So what's that? 136
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
About. Oh, that's crazy. My math is probably off, but that's just usually how it goes. Cool. So I mean that's enough about Star Wars general talk. I'm really interested in hearing about your Tulsa experience. And now this was at Team Covenant.
Yep.
And now before we even get into your day, like I mean, I think Team Covenant is almost like one of those like or not Destiny destinations, but like almost FFG game destinations.
Yeah.
Like if some people could pick a store to play at, they want to go there. So just even tell us about like the setup of Team Covenant, like how did the tournament run and how is like just the atmosphere?
Yeah. So I think if anybody is ever in the Tulsa area, it's totally worth going and checking out their space. They do everything, but I feel like a very high class level. They want to make sure that every person that walks into their store is comfortable from beginning to end, which as a gamer I think is perfect. So everything from the tables and chairs they have are just top notch. Nothing's plastic in their store. Everything's good quality. They serve food and drinks in their store. So everything you could want just at a gaming space they have. They even take care of their bathrooms are high quality. No single ply toilet paper when you walk into their bathrooms. Everything's top notch. So
I'm sold.
Yeah, what more do you want?
Charmin.
Yeah. And everybody that works at the store, they're all gamers themselves. So when it comes to running an event, they make sure that everything is done at the highest level. They also make sure to incorporate plenty of breaks, which I also appreciate.
Nice.
And there's lots of really good stuff to eat right around their store, coffee shops next door. So you don't have to go far for anything as well.
Now, what amazes me about Team Covenant as well is that they don't have any like the big three of card games at their store, right?
Yeah, they do not sell Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, or Pokemon. So last year or 2 years ago, they did do a one-time only Pokemon draft event. because I think Zach grew up playing Pokemon. That was his first gaming experience. So he wanted to do a little throwback. So they did a Pokemon night. But yeah, they don't sell any one of those three things.
That's crazy. So it's like a store doing that well without the
Yeah.
big three.
And I think like their motto is they want to sell things that they love, and those aren't games that they play. So they don't want to sell it.
Yeah, I mean, their stuff has always seemed authentic to me. Now, obviously, I don't know like Zach personally on a personal level, but just even watching like Keyforge streams or Destiny streams or listening to their podcasts, it feels all like stuff they actually care
Yeah.
about. Now, of course, at times they're going to try to push their product because they own a business, but I don't feel like I'm constantly being sold
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
Cool. So, I mean, that sounds like an awesome setup, something that probably everybody wishes they had at their local scene. But yeah, so we could start to dive into the tournament. I mean, you can go as in depth as you would like if you want to do like a round by round thing, or if you just want to dive right into the top cut. I believe was it your top four in the finals?
Yeah, both the top four and the finals were on the stream. So I think what's crazy to note is the weeks leading up to the event, I had played in the Dallas regional, and there I was one of I think 18 other people to also bring a Vader Greedo deck, and ended up going 4-3 in that event, and just leaving that event thinking, all right, so before Tulsa, I've got to find something that can beat Vader Greedo because I feel like that's what we're going to see. And so I started playing a lot of Count Dooku and Mother Talzin. So I had tested that. I was all set to play that. The Thursday night before the regional at our local event, I just got hammered game after game after game of people playing mill decks. And I thought, this is going to be a rough matchup, but I'm going to play what I know. I've been playing this, so I'm gonna power forward through it. And then Saturday morning rolls around and it's like 6 a.m. I'm waiting for a couple of people to show up to my house to drive up to Tulsa together. And I just sat there thinking, you know what? I can't do this. This deck is going to lose to Mill. If I see Mill, Mill had just won a few weeks before at several other regionals. I was like, I can't do this. And that's when I remembered, just the week before, I watched the Golden Dice stream. They're playing Tarkin Snoke, doing really well. I thought, you know what? I've played a lot of Tarkin Afra when we were playing trilogies. I played a lot of that deck, so I felt comfortable with Tarkin. And I thought, it's a brilliant deck choice because every top meta deck at that time was a 2-character list. And so, that deck can just pump out so much indirect damage so quickly that 2-character lists just fold to it. So I literally ran into my home office and I pulled up your list on the DB and pulled up and just immediately built it and did it in like 20 minutes. And I made one change where I took out one probe and put in an extra I am your father, just because I thought, if I see a lot of Vaders, I want to be able to just have this one extra piece, and went off with it. I played one little practice game once we got to Tulsa with one of the guys that I rode up in the car with, and then that was it. And
That's insane.
yeah, it was crazy. But I knew at the time, I thought this was a really good meta choice.
Yeah.
And then, so round one pairings come up, and my first opponent is Zach Bunn. I'm like, well, this is just great. One of the best Destiny players in the world. I have to face round one. And he completely just stomped me. He was playing Ray 1 and Leia Bouche. And Zach loves Ray 1. He's the biggest fanboy of Ray. And so he just had the perfect draw of ambush weapons. And like, I think round one, he played an ambush weapon on Ray, a force speed on Ray, rolled out double specials with Boosh when I had no money, and just like his round one turn was disgusting. I ended up making a little bit of a comeback, but it wasn't close. So I'm already like starting the day 0-1. I've played this deck now twice, and I immediately started questioning my decisions. Then I got really lucky, I guess, to have a round two. I got the random buy. So now I'm 1-1. And then from there, it just started to pile up wins. Ended up having one other loss in Swiss against my top 8 opponent. And he was playing Beckett and Sienna. and he was able to. His first action was he saw my hand and saw that I had a Vader's fist, and just for 3 rounds straight kept me off money, and never let me play that. Put that Vader's fist on the table, and ended up winning that game. But I snuck into the top 8. I was the 7th seed, just barely sneaking in with the 6-2 record or 5-2 record. And once I hit top 8, I had that rematch of Sienna and Beckett, and I was able to get Vader's fists out quick both games, and it just wins. Like Vader's fist is just busted good. And then yeah, you guys saw the streams on the top 4 in the finals going up against Vader Greedo, and I felt like that deck has a really really good matchup against Vader Greedo. Like it just being able to use anger at the right times, and I am your father, just putting them in bad situations to either have to lose a die or lose their hand, I think are just brilliant against those matchups.
It's super interesting that you say that in terms of Tarkin Snoke versus Vader Greedo, because I think I lean in your favor where I think it is like a pretty good matchup. It's not like an auto win type
Yeah,
situation, and I don't really think anything against Vader is that. But like talking to other people, and in response to Tarkin popping up a little bit, people feel as though they like him. He's good into certain decks, but they felt like it wasn't super good in a Vader, so they didn't feel like comfortable like going with him. And now the meta is kind of shifting a little bit. It's going a little bit towards that 3 wide that Joe from the
Yep.
Hyperloops built, the Snoke Sienna Trader deck, and I think Tarkin can struggle against that if people are prepared to play against Tarkin Snoke. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
completely agree.
it could be more difficult going forward, but yeah, I always felt that we actually had a pretty good matchup. And now, how did you feel about the two I'm Your Fathers? Were you happy bringing 2 of those?
I was, because every time I saw it in my hand, I felt all right. Like if Vader rolls out a 3 or a 4, I feel really good about being able to play this card. And even if he chooses to discard his hand, to me that's a win. Like I'll take that 3 damage if you don't have any of your cards. I think that Vader Greedo deck relies pretty heavily on its cards, either needing to discard to reroll, and it's or using some pretty powerful events.
Yeah, if like you stop a friends in high place, or like a Fear and Dead Man, or something along those lines, Rise Again, whatever it might be,
Yeah,
you're in such a good
absolutely.
position. Um, yeah, that was interesting too. When I saw your list, because I don't know if Tommy had talked to you or anybody else, but I wasn't sure if exactly you had taken our list or if you just happened to be on something similar and made a few changes similar to ours. So that is actually super funny, and how similar of a story that almost is to mine. And bringing Tarkin Snoke to
Yeah.
Connecticut of like last second, my deck is awful. I need something new.
Yep.
um, but that's awesome.
So after watching all 5 of Ian's games against Vader Greedo, I knew it was. If it wasn't identical, I knew it was extremely similar, just because I felt like I had seen just about every card in his deck at that point. But Ian, I had 2 questions for you. First, I noticed that in I think 3 of the 5 games that were on stream, your opponent went for Snoke first, which I thought was a very interesting choice and the wrong choice. What were your thoughts on that? Do you think that they should be targeting Tarkin, or do you think that they should be targeting Snoke?
I think you should absolutely be targeting Tarkin, 100%. So Tarkin is the one that deals. He's the damage dealer, right? So Snoke can do a little bit, but Tarkin's the one that puts out the heat. So I'm happy when they go after Snoke first. So all 3 of those games where that happened, I think I won every game that anybody tried to go after Snoke first.
Yeah, you
So
did.
I was happy with it. Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. I mean, in addition to that, you're also helping them kill Tarkin by, Snoke power actioning. So I think that's
Yeah.
even more reason for them to go for Tarkin. But the second thing that I thought was interesting is the first, or excuse me, the top 4 game when you played Vader Greedo. I don't recall the battlefield situation, but I do remember distinctly in the finals, you won the roll off against Vader, so you got to play on your Theed for the first game.
Hmm.
You won. Second game, he played on his Theed. I believe he turned 1 fisted. He won, and then
Yep.
obviously you took the third game, which I thought was I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about Theed and if it's good or bad for the game, and we tend here at, I believe all of us agree at, on this podcast that, it's pretty far above the power curve starting with that first round resource. But did you feel like it was impactful in the games, or do you think that it didn't play that big of a role?
Oh, I think it's a huge role. That one extra resource at the start of your round. So, like for a Vader Greedo, for Vader to be able to play one of his upgrades round one is huge. I know that when I was in Dallas playing Vader Greedo, the games that I lost, I never had my battlefield. I could not put an upgrade out round one, and I think that's so important. And even on Tarkin Snoke, to be able to get ahead that one extra buck to be able to either maybe play a hand cannon or a force jump and still have money for upgrades or for events, or just to get that extra buck to be able to put down Vader's fist. It's so important.
Yeah, that extra buck to not only just play fist, but also like be able to resolve the pace side,
Yep.
which is huge. Because if you play fist turn one and you take away two of its damage sides and you don't really want to resolve for disruptor shields,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a sad day.
it's not as good. Yeah.
One more follow-up question, Jack. Sorry. I'm
Do
just
it.
curious because I would be willing to bet the Beckett Sienna deck. I feel like that's actually a really good matchup for you because they don't have illusion and they generally just have a very small health pool.
Mhm.
Um, did you lose that battlefield roll?
I did, yeah. So when we played in the Swiss, he won his battlefield and was able to, and he wasn't playing Theed, he was playing the reduce your
Weapons
vehicle by
factory.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, weapon
weapon
factor.
factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he won that battlefield role, took his battlefield, and like I said, when he sees my hand with friends in low places and sees that I have a fist, he now knows all I have to do is keep him off money, and that thing's never hitting the table, and he was able to do that.
Yeah, I think that one of the big things that I think people are missing in the meta right now, not all decks, but a lot of decks are susceptible to both disrupt, and I think more commonly figured out is that the hand disruption is super impactful in this game right now. But disruption is way undervalued. Just keeping people off of that turn one fist. If you can't disrupt their hand, it's a delicate balance you're working with. The battlefield role is way too important right now. But if you are able to even resolve, say, a Snoke die for one disrupt, that's a huge swing sometimes when your opponent's going to drop a turn one fist. If that's the difference, that's massive.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Leia Yoda decks and that Taking Ground. I think Taking Ground's the best card in that deck. Um, just to give them that +2, give them that chance to win that battlefield. And usually they're playing against someone who's got Theed, right? So that's one upgrade that they're probably not playing on that round. So I think you're right. The battlefield role is so important right now.
Yeah. It's funny. Your game against the Beckett Sienna was similar in a sense to the one that I played in Connecticut as well, except I got my fist down, but then he decided to blow it up with an
Oh,
ATST.
yeah, that's one way to do it.
Yes. At least you got to keep resources in general. I just spent 5, took 2 shields, and then it died. So that was not ideal. But I was actually happy that he had an ATST down instead of fire spray. So it worked out. Ended up pulling that one out. That's cool. That's awesome. Super psyched that you were able to pull it out. Glad that our list was able to help you a little bit. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, it doesn't mean everything because I'm a bum
Yeah,
and couldn't couldn't
yeah,
pull
you
it out.
guys did all the hard work. I just ran into my office and copied something. So
Tommy did all the
okay,
hard work.
Tommy.
I just
I literally played like 18 to 20 games with the deck, so it really wasn't that hard.
well, that's 16 to 18 more than I did in prep, and that's 18 to 20 more than Ian had in
Yeah,
prep.
exactly.
Cool. Any other thoughts like about the Tulsa regional, or any thoughts that you kind of have like about the meta going forward? Because I know Tulsa was the 19th, right, of January. Like it wasn't this past weekend; it was the
Correct.
one
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting meta. Seeing Mill do so well. Though it's interesting. Like I switched that deck because I was like my Mother Talzin Dooku deck. I was losing constantly to Mill, and I saw one Mill deck the entire day in Tulsa. I only faced one, and I went to Kansas City this last weekend and played in their regional, and I brought Tarkin Snoke again, and it had a completely different experience with the deck. Um, so as good as it played in Tulsa and getting the right cards at the right time, it went completely the opposite direction. I lost to two different Vader Greedo decks where I didn't see any mitigation, didn't see Vader's fist at the right times, and just got throttled by Vader in two
Hmm.
games. And you know, it's just interesting how uh, as much I think skill goes into Destiny to be able to pull out a win in an event like that. There's definitely some luck on your side.
Yeah, I mean, I even felt that way, kind of getting into the top cut. I felt like I had some luck
Yeah.
along the way to get there. Now, are you enjoying this meta? Are you happy with how the regional season has played out? Do you have any regionals left, or are you done?
No, I'm done. That the one in Kansas City was my last one. But yeah, I think it's been a great shift in the meta. I think had all of my regionals happened before the Thrawn Snoke uh, ended, I'd have a very different tune.
Hmm.
So I think there's so much diversity. I think we're seeing a lot of similar decks win, but we're seeing a lot of different decks make the top cut. We're seeing a lot of different decks do well, which to me means a very healthy meta.
Yeah, I agree. I've really enjoyed this, and each like regional, I don't think I had a repeat within that regional, which has been nice in terms of Swiss rounds. Um, so yeah, I've been happy with it. It's been fun. Vader dominated for uh, a little bit in the beginning, but I feel like that's how it normally goes with these giant aggro decks, and he's like the aggro king.
Yeah, I mean he's Vader.
Yeah,
He should be that good.
yeah,
So
it was good. I've enjoyed it, but I mean that should wrap up our regional talk, our meta thoughts a little bit. Tommy, you got any other closing thoughts, and then we can get into the OP announcement.
No, I think you guys covered it pretty good. I think that you got like three, four decks that you should be really testing against, as the things that will be at events. And I think that the downfall for the Tarkin Snoke deck is it's a little easier to tech against that deck than it is some others. Like I know the
oh yeah,
Trader,
absolutely.
yeah, the Trader Mind Trick is a blowout. You're susceptible to jump. Obviously, you could put Feel Your Anger in a blue villain deck, and it's never like a feel bad card, but instantly you're checked against,
Yeah.
the Target Snoke. So, but yeah, I think you guys covered it pretty well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
now I'm just really excited for rotation. Like I'm excited to play trilogies. So
Yep.
this Tuesday night, we did a fun trilogies night, and people brought weird decks, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to go to the Covenant Masters, and one of the things that I decided to do for their trilogies night, since we can switch decks in and out, I've made 6 different decks, each one monocolored. So I have a monocolor blue hero, monocolor blue villain, and I've done that. So each round I'll be playing a different monocolored deck, all in the trilogies format. I think it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast. Actually, I think Zach Bun is doing the same thing. I don't know if it's mono, but he was talking about doing 6 different decks for each game.
Yeah, Eric Wainwright's going to. So I got the idea from Eric. So I know Eric Wainwright's going to be doing it. I hope Zach's doing it. I know Zach's got 6 different decks. So
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. The Masters tournament, and I wish I could go, but I'm excited as well for trilogies and rotation. I've got the New Jersey regional on the 16th, which hopefully Tommy has as well, and he's
I'm
able to
in.
make it done.
I'm there, 100%. I'll be there.
There we go. Good. So yeah, right after that, I actually have all my cards and stuff sorted. So it's a matter of once that regional's over, I'm going to put everything away and take my Awakening stuff and set it off to the side.
yeah, yep.
And wait for PAX Unplugged next year for Infinite
format. Yeah.
GQ. I can't even imagine PAX Unplugged next year Infinite. That'll be 9 sets.
I'm interested to see
By
if
that
they lift some of the erratas or point costs on when they do Infinite, to see if it's just goes back to more
Yeah,
rules, whatever's on the card.
they should. I think that would be like not change some things. Like obviously you wouldn't change the overwrite rule to like make all of FN's shenanigans come back. But if you drop down to 13, I think that like why not? It's never. I mean, standard is the only thing that really matters in terms of like high level competition. So why not have fun with the infinite type thing?
Absolutely.
So, um, but yeah, so that'll bring us into, we could just roll right into the OP. I'm excited about this Fantasy Flight. If you haven't seen, they just came out with a announcement of what OP is going to look like. They actually have like a new symbol or logo that they have for OP as well. So they're changing everything. Alex, I believe, is the new guy that is the director of organized play, being promoted from UK. I think the head guy stepped down. So there's been a lot of shakeup in OP, and the first of that was Worlds being changed to Q4. And I think a lot of people kind of met that with the idea of, okay, sure, but like what's happening between now and store championships and our store championships even happening. So it's like this big gap. We're not sure what's going to happen. And this is kind of at least cluing us into what 2019 is going to look like. I believe these effects are going to take place right away, and we should see them within 2019, hopefully at least. But the first thing they talk about is seasonal kit and open play nights. I guess question before we get into this, Ann, what does your local scene look like? Are you guys getting good numbers each week?
So I have a couple different stores that are around me that I'm able to go to. So our Tuesday night group, it was one that started out pretty large. We would routinely have 12 to 18 people show up to play Star Wars Destiny. It kind of died off quite a bit. Several people started getting into Keyforge. I think was a big thing that got a lot of people pulled out of Destiny, started playing Keyforge. Some other life things happened during holidays, and nobody's just gotten back in yet. And then another store, we have about 7 to 10 people show up for the weekly nights. So it's definitely died off a little bit, but those of us that play, we're all pretty serious about it, and we're excited for rotation and it to be able to start doing some newcomer events. I think when that new set hits, it's going to be really easier to get new people involved, and we plan on doing kind of an escalation league and that sort of stuff. So we're excited.
Yeah, our local has kind of died off a little bit, hoping that these changes, along with the new set, we can kind of revamp it a little bit, like an escalation league, like you said. But also, like I like the idea of like a box tournament. You just buy a
Yep.
box and make a deck from it and see how it goes, because we're all going to
Exactly.
be buying boxes anyways. So might as well do a little tournament for it. But yeah, we'll dive in a little bit into these season and open play nights. So I'll kind of read through some of the bullet points they have. So seasonal kits are going to support open play nights and will reward players for their in-store participation. We want in-store events to be accessible and welcoming to casual players. I'm all about that. I've kind of almost started to introduce the idea of open play to our local scene a little bit. Like you could almost pay if you wanted, and then could still get store credit and packs in return that night if you wanted to, or you could just play for free and still just get the quarterly kit. So I'm excited, and I think if we get into it, it's been rumored. I don't know if it was confirmed here, but it's like there's going to be 6 different cards, and there's going to be 16 of each of them. So, like, I think that's such a better prize. Like, if you just walk in and you get a card, like, I think that's so much better than like these shields and tokens and damage tokens that I already have like a million of. Like, I don't know. I'd be more excited to get like a full art of like Obi-Wan than I would like another variation of a shield token that I will put into another box and never never use again.
Yeah, what I'm excited about is that it talked about this being more accessible and cheaper for retailers. So I think I saw somebody mentioning online that these kits for a retailer may only be like $5 or $6
Yeah.
for them to get a kit, which is great for any retailer because then they don't have to charge their people to come in and play on these open play nights. So that's one of the things that we're starting to do at our local store is we're not going to do tournaments throughout a weekly tournament anymore. We're just going to come and have fun and play. And the fact that we're able to get some of these kits and everybody walks away with something, I think is perfect. I think FFG hit it right on the nail on the head on this one.
Yeah. And you could entice your store to buy more of these too. So like you make sure you get them. Like I think the quarterly kits before were like $15 for the store. So it's like you could get 3 of these for the price of one seasonal kit or quarterly kit before. And I think it got spoiled on the Artificery channel
Yeah, that's right.
Their
As far as
Discord. They had the the box is not that like plastic thing anymore. It is now like it's got like Destiny logo and it's got like Obi-Wan from Convergence on it. So I'm excited. And I hope that means that Obi-Wan is in there. Like I said, I love Obi-Wan. Hope he gets a full art. But yeah, that's much more exciting. I think it's more fun for somebody to come to an event and like give them a card, and hopefully it's not Arabesh.
yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, open play seems like it would be cool. Maybe it'll get Tommy out to a weekly. Who knows?
Talk to Nicole.
I figured. But yeah, so continuing on, it says local organizers may continue using seasonal kits to run open play nights as tournaments if they so desire. So that option is still there to run those tournaments or just do open play, as you had mentioned, Ann. It says most seasonal kits will come with enough prizes to support 8 players through 3 months of weekly play. Some games may feature different prize structures, but will support up to 3 months of play per kit. I think that's awesome because the current quarterly kits, it would really support 2 weeks of about 8 players, I think, because it would have 2 sets of tokens, 3 of the special cards, and like 16 or 32 or something of that of the generic card. And it was like after week 2 of that, all the prizes that everybody wanted were gone, and like I can't give away any more quick draws. Like no, nobody wants any more of those all art quick draws. And so I think just being able to support longer play periods of people actually wanting prizes is a lot better. And I think opening up to more players, like I said, is better than if they included like one big thing.
Yep.
Like if they did like one spot gloss, I think then weekly becomes too competitive, and then nobody shows up because the same person will probably win.
But Jack, what do you do if your meta is very competitive or the new players want to test their mettle in a local event? How what are you going to do for that?
With this setup?
I'm segueing you into the season premium kit, sir.
Oh, sure. Great segue, Tommy. Great segue. So, some games will also receive the seasonal premium kits in addition to the regular seasonal kits. Retailers and event organizers can use these premium kits to support their communities with additional gaming experiences, either casual or competitive. Players participating in events supported by these premium kits will contend for prizes that are a step up, a bit more premium, if you will, than those included in the standard seasonal kit. So this could be like a cool like weekend tournament in place of the weeklies could be open play, and then you could have like a weekend tournament. The symbols are different. I don't feel like trying to say different. I'm not different. All right, I'm just going with different. I can't say the word that I'm going to try to say, so we're just going.
You're a wordsmith, you.
Who let this guy record a podcast, man? The seasonal kits is a square with pegs in the different corners, and the premium kits is a circle. So that's a way to have different kits.
What's that word?
Differentiate.
Differentiate. All right, we got there, guys. Wow. I wonder how much of that I'm going to edit out, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, you
Maybe
don't have
none
to
of it.
edit Scott this week, so somebody had to pick it up the slack.
Oh, that was rough. All right, thoughts on that, guys? On the premium kits along with the regular seasonal?
Yeah, I think like Tommy said, it's perfect to have something just a little bit more for those of us that are a little more competitive and want to push it. So I think it's perfect. Like, right, you do maybe once a month, you do a weekend tournament. Hopefully you pulled some of those people in that were coming just on the open play nights and been testing out some stuff. And they're like, all right, now it's time to do this at a tournament. I think it's great.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a cutthroat, like, regional worlds by type feel to the event. I mean, there's some slightly more, premium pricing, I guess, but it's more about, hey, you can go through the testing process, even just at the weekly local event where, I've been trying this character combination, it's not working, or I've been losing to this, let me try this. And then you find something that you like, and then you're like, hey, I think this is good. Let's put it to the test. And that can be I think a monthly weekend event would be fabulous. Or even, if these are, if these are also quarterly, similarly to the seasonal kits with the open play night in mind, then maybe you just do once a quarter for that weekend event.
Yeah, I think it's a really good approach to make the format, open play during the week, have something like this, and then as we get up here into the championship events, as they're labeling them, this is what their structure is going to look like. So they're still generally keeping the same thing. So store champs, prime championships, grand championships, continental championships, and world championships. So pretty much the same thing. Store champs, the prime championships is regionals with a new name. Grand championships is nationals. Continental is still the same, and the world is still the same name. What?
Well, the big difference, I don't know if this is what you were about to say, but is that in the store championship section, it says that they will be held twice per year, per game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was about to get to that, and I am stoked with that because store champs are so simple that I didn't understand why they didn't have them twice a year per game. Like it's another weekend tournament. Like it's so easy, so simple to set up, and I don't think it'll pull the like. I mean, our area we had pretty good. We were mid-20s for all of our store champs. So now those numbers might see a dip, but that means people like now I don't have to care to travel to North Jersey or into Maryland or Pennsylvania for a store champ because I know my store is going to have another one type thing. And
But
just more.
is it going to be the same kit, or are we going to get a different kit? That's my big question. Like, it would be
It should be
pretty
different.
lame. It's got to be a different kit. I don't want to see the same prizes, twice a year, 6 months apart. I think that would be a bad look for the game.
Yeah, it's got to be different prizes, right? So I was excited to see that as well, that being able to hold twice a year, because with Worlds this year moving to court Q4, like not everybody, like we're going to be done with regionals here pretty soon, and not everybody can make it to Gen Con or Nova. So that huge gap between end of regionals and Q4. So now it looks like we might have an opportunity to do another set of store championships. I think is awesome.
Yeah, I would love to have it like almost escalation type, like almost if store champs were the beginning of the years, then you had regionals, then you had like Gen Con and Nova, and then you had like another store championships, and then you had worlds. I think would be like a pretty decent layout of the events. But yeah, if they're similar, then I think the value of the second one plummets. Like I don't need to go compete in the same thing, exact thing again, and get more all art 4 speeds.
Two other things that I noticed in this article that I found interesting is that they did talk about something that we had speculated before. Maybe them doing is pushing the buys or the invites, not buys, but just the seats at World Championship events down a little bit. So at the Prime Championships, which is the regional equivalent, you win, you get a seat. At the Grand, which is Nova, now they're extending that to top 4. The Continental Championships, they're doing top 8 participants are getting a seat at Worlds. But they also go on to mention by the year 2020, all the organized Play World Championships will be invitation only. And I believe X-Wing and L5R are already that way. If those are all the seats that are being given out, that's going to be a pretty small exclusive event. And it's going to be kind of feel bad for the United States when, there's going to be grand championships or the nationals equivalent, all over Europe, where they're almost more like regional tournaments because, you can travel from a country, to 2 countries away with some ease in Europe. But in the United States, you're relegated to this one tournament on the East Coast, which is kind of tough for some people to make.
Yeah, they did use the words once per year per nation or territory. So maybe we'll get a couple of additional grand championships. Maybe we'll see 2 or 3 happen in the US, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, maybe something central. So I'm holding out hope that the fact that it says per nation or territory, maybe we'll see at least one additional grand championship.
You are a natural, Sherlock. I didn't even notice that, and I love that theory. I hope that is the direction they go.
Yeah, I certainly hope that as well. I mean, it's nice having Nova on the East Coast, but it definitely feels bad for any West Coast or really anybody like beyond the Mississippi to come travel to DC. Right. late or mid September or whenever it was, early September, whatever.
I mean, we still have GQs as well for world seats, so it's not like
Yeah,
there's no other way to get them, and they're spread out pretty well. But I mean, that's to go 6-0 in an event isn't it's not exactly easy. I mean, you need a fair bit of luck just to go 6-0. It's not like you got a top cut with best of 3 or anything like that going on.
I I almost think that they should extend this though. Like if you're thinking about all the top fours from or winner of regionals, top four of Nova, and top eight of the Continental, like that's still not a lot of people in my opinion. And I don't know, like it's still, even if it's all that, like I still feel like what's that, like 100 something, like maybe. And you can't expect all 100 people to go to Worlds. So I would hope that it, like I would almost even drop it down. Like regionals could be, um, like the top two or top four even. I'd probably actually bump everything down a level. I'd say regionals top two, Nova would be top eight, and Gen Con would be top 16, and just give out invites a little bit more because right now they don't pass down, and I would assume that doesn't change. So just opening it up a little bit more to having people within it, I think would just be better for Worlds. I want it to be exclusive, but I also don't want like 10 people there.
Yeah, and they also mentioned in this article, which you're probably about to get to, is the global event manager or GEM. So there might be a way for more people to get into Worlds or qualify to Worlds if they're starting to track player performance, right? So maybe I don't ever win a regional, but if I top eight multiple regionals, maybe that qualifies me into Worlds.
Yeah, so we mentioned Pokemon earlier in the cast, and I know Pokemon has a system based on, going to large events and just making a certain, top 32, top whatever, and you score X amount of points, and at the end of the season, if you have, Y amount of points, then you would qualify for a seat at Worlds. So that would be an interesting system if they implemented something like that.
Yeah, I'm huge on this. I'm so excited to see Gem come into play. If you're Alan, you're probably still super confused as to what Gem and Tome is. He was freaking out about that in our Discord. He's like, "What the heck is a Tome? What the heck is a Gem? What are we talking about here?" So it seems like Gem is almost going to replace Tome in that sense. I think like it still can be used for tournaments. And it's basically kind of what runs, does pairings, gives buys, all those type things. But yeah, so it's currently just relegated to Keyforge at this moment. But they're looking to expand that throughout 2019 and giving that to other games from what I understand. They included this little like structure as well for Keyforge, and that is similar to what was stated above for all the Destiny stuff, with seasonal kits kind of at the bottom, store champs, prime champs, grand champs, and world champs. So I think starting to track players is good on all fronts, not only for rewarding players who are consistently doing well, if that is a thing, but I also wonder if it's going to start to track players who are constantly having issues at tournaments. Cheating has been a big topic lately, and there's been plenty of podcasts and articles that we don't really need to get into. But, it's just like if somebody's consistently doing small infractions at all these different tournaments, if there's a way to track that, I think that would be highly valuable for the TOs so they're not caught in this weird situation. And also TO guidelines would be great.
Yeah.
Great as well.
It would be nice to have
Yeah,
some
floor
rules.
We'll get there, guys. We'll get there. All right. FFG is finally even figuring out the basics to what like a structure of a competitive gameplay should look like. So
I'm literally going to send an article, or not an article, pardon me, an email to them just saying, can we not pick venues that are going to cap events at 32 players when you're prizing out to 64? Like, I think that we need to do a better job of vetting our venues because honestly, I feel like the turnouts for regionals this year could have been much greater than they were. A large number of the regionals I've heard about being capped and turning people away. I think that we definitely could have had events in the 90s, in the 80s, high 70s. I think that that's feasible, and they really prevented themselves from having those kind of events.
What was interesting to me is I believe it was the 19th was a new Magic release. And what's odd, though, is that they had tournaments, they had regionals that weekend, and that resulted in stores capping space because Magic is obviously a big moneymaker, so they're going to save space for Magic. Um, but if we get into February on the 9th, there's no regionals on the 9th. And I mean, unless I am missing something, I haven't seen anybody bring anything up in conversations through Discord or on Facebook about something being on the 9th, but I don't understand why they wouldn't take all those that were on the 19th and move them to the 9th. Or like basically try to stay away from the 19th and avoid a Magic pre-release, which is their big, like, release isn't as big as their pre-release type stuff. And I felt like there was battling with that. It's just like these stores, you're setting up for failure if you're having to compete against that. And two, as Tommy said, these stores, like just pick one that isn't capping it right at 64. Like try to host these bigger stores that, one, have a community and can provide a TO who plays the game, and two, has a store that actually cares about it and isn't just funneling 64 people in so they meet the minimum of what like FFG pretty much requires of them. From what I understand, if they're capping at 32 or whatever and you contact FFG, they should receive a nudge to bump it up to 64. But the fact that the situation even comes up has been disappointing.
I want stores to make money. Like they have to stay open if we're going to continue to go and play at these events. And if they're going to host these events, like a store should make money on these events. That's wonderful. I want them to be able to host Magic events so that they can continue to make money and stay open. It is a business. This is someone's livelihood that we're talking about, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just wish that there was better planning. I mean, if you are going to run alongside a Magic event and cap at 64, that's fine. But I think that you would know with much greater certainty when a Magic event or a Magic pre-release would be, as opposed to when anything happens with FFG for the most part. So I would hope that you could, plan around that. And like you said, Jack, if the 9th is an open weekend, maybe not like move last minute, but just have the foresight to plan accordingly. Black out the 19th. Even FFG could black out that day or bring it up and say, hey, reminder, this is a Magic pre-release day. If this is something that your store plans on participating, maybe don't schedule your regional this day. I mean, there's got to be something that could prevent that from happening.
Yeah, and they've been intentional with their planning, so I imagine, like, it's just weird how intentional they've been, but potentially missed something like that. Or maybe there was a workaround that we don't know about because they didn't tell us, and they probably don't really need to give us every single detail. But regardless, this new OP is looking great. I'm excited about Worlds invite only, even if that means on some people missing out. I mean, I know I got my ticket to Worlds through a raffle. And did you win your way? I don't remember if you had said this. Did you get in by a regional win previously, or?
No, I did not. And so I had to play the raffle, and I lost. I lost the raffle and was able to get in the next time around, like the second time they opened it up. So I've never had that opportunity to win my way in. I've always had to win the lottery. And so I'm excited this year that winning this regional that I've got my seat. So when anybody asks me, what did you win? Like my family, they don't know what I'm getting here. And I tell them that I want a play mat. Like, oh, nice. Like, no, I want a seat to Worlds. And like, oh, that means
that sounds important.
Yeah.
But then when you get to Worlds and come back and you say you want a mat, then they're like, oh, that's it? You went to Worlds?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's got the dark saber on it, though.
You don't understand. I could sell this for a lot of money, but I'm not going to because I value the mat.
Yeah, that's what they asked. Did you win any cash? Like, well, if I sold everything, I might make $100.
Yeah, really. But I like holding on. I don't think I've sold a prize yet. At least like non-repeats. Like if I got like another regional mat or something like that, maybe I would. But I like holding on to the few prizes that I do get. But I missed the raffle, but I actually knew somebody who won the raffle and then couldn't go. So they gave me, you could like pass your tickets. I just had to like register the ticket through my name. But Worlds Invite is better. I think it'll be better for the game going forward. I think open play nights, like I think they're improving both the competitive end of this game and the casual end. And I think it's just really good all around. But I mean, that covers pretty much anything I wanted to say. I guess a little bit at the end, they're officially saying FFG in an article that they want to communicate better. um, throughout 2019. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Before that, the only thing we had was I think it was like last week they posted like a 2019 New Year's resolution for some of their like designers of the game, and the guy for Destiny, forgetting his name currently because it wasn't Jeremy, just said he wants to communicate more with content creators and players of the game. So if FFG starts doing that, that'll be great, because that's my biggest frustration with them right now is the lack of communication. So I'm happy with this article. I'm happy that it
I
came
am
out.
too. Yeah, this makes me really excited about what's upcoming for Fantasy Flight and organized play. I think that putting what's his name, Alex? Is that his name?
Yeah, the new
Yeah,
director.
Alex Watkins. I think he's heading in the right direction, and if they can stick to what they say in this article, I think we have a lot of good things in store.
I'm just excited for more structure. I think that's the give us guidelines, give us structure, give us walls to press against. I think that's what this game needs. I think it's got enough of a competitive following to warrant that at this point.
Tommy's like, give us structure so I can watch from home as my baby poops all over me.
Dude, I'm going to Jersey. Trust me, I want to win. I want to compete. I just can't.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, this was I really enjoyed having you on, Ann. Do you have any other thoughts about this OP format? If not, we'll start to wrap up.
Yeah, I think I've said everything about the OP. Just excited about it. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys asking me to be on the podcast. I enjoyed listening to your podcast, so it's nice to be on and talk Destiny with you guys.
He's way better than Shane, so we're grateful that you came on instead of Shane.
I don't even think we have to worry about that anymore, at this point. Shane knew we recorded Thursdays, and what does he do? He starts streaming that garbage Fortnite on Thursdays.
Fortnite.
And now he tells me he doesn't even play that anymore. He's on to Sea of Thieves or something, which seems just as bad. Normally at this time, we usually let our guests plug their content, man, but you don't have any. You're nobody coming on here.
I have no content. I just watch a lot of content and play a lot of games. I'm not even on TTS that often. I love TTS. I think it's great, but I love just being out and playing with people face to face. So, but I'll plug the Covenant Masters happening this weekend in Tulsa. I know that everything's going to be streamed both Friday night and Saturday. They're going to be streaming the entire event, and just everybody should jump on and watch the Q&A session with Jeremy Zwern. I think that's going to be really interesting. And I know if anybody has questions, you can send those to Team Covenant, and they'll get those in front of Jeremy. So plug the Covenant Masters happening this weekend.
You'll have to let us know what that new card is. From what I understand, there's going to be a promo card at that event.
No, I'm excited to see what that could be. I'm hoping that it's some alternate art Vader, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, last time Team Covenant had that thing, they got the alt art Darth Vader 2, the one with like Anakin on there, and Luke.
Yep, we got the Luke. Yep, I was at that event, so I was able to get my hands on those.
Hey man,
if it's a Vader, that's gonna be worth some cash.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there will be people that will pull out their phone and put it on eBay within seconds.
Yeah, I mean, some of that Spock Loss one that came out of the recent GQ were going for like $350 on eBay. They've kind of come down to the normal-ish price, but still a little bit higher. I think they're still like high 100s, like 180.
It is a beautiful card.
It is, and it's only the second one with like an alt art, I believe. I think Hera is the only other one that isn't their actual card character art. She's got the same art from Partnership on her Spock Loss, but I don't think anybody knows that, because I don't know if anybody aside from one of our local player Riggs actually got a Hera Spock Loss card. But yeah, that'll be awesome. If you can snag an extra one, dude, hit me up.
I will snag one and slip one your way.
Yeah. Tommy, you got any closing thoughts for us?
No, I'm good.
All right. So normally we give our guests the sign out, or well, it's kind of different every week if we don't have a guest. It's ranged from Tommy moaning for our exit all the way to insults of Shane. So as always, Ann, I will give that the sign off to you.
I mean, if we want to just hear Tommy moaning again, I'm fine with that.